in this case, what I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not pro or con, or I don't care about the politics, who lost money? Nobody. The bank got paid back the construction finance loan, and a new building was built. And if you're going to sue this case and win, you got to sue every real estate developer everywhere. This is all they do. This is what they do all day long, every day.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the ridiculous $370 million lawsuit against Donald Trump's company brought about by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Now, the judge is expected to rule on the case at the end of the month, January 31st. And if it's found that Trump did what the lawsuit alleges, we'll get to that in a minute, then he may not only pay the $370 million, but it may also be banned from practicing real estate in New York. Now, the allegation here is that Trump inflated the value of his assets to defraud banks. But as you saw in the very beginning, that's really a stretch to call it fraud. Because, okay, I have assets, I have property, I have things. I think they're worth X. I present that to whoever it may concern. They agree, they disagree, we negotiate, we meet in the middle, whatever it is, and we go forward from there. And what's the problem? Look, I got the loan, you got your money, a building was built. What are we talking about? This is part of a witch hunt against Trump, and the strategy here is to keep him in court so he can't really be on the campaign trail. So his resources are drained. This is a proxy war against Trump, the same way they're doing over in Russia. Well, not Russia, in Ukraine against Russia. Okay, we say we are trying to help Ukraine fight the war against Russia and maintain independence and all this and that and the third. But in reality, what we're doing is we're trying to drain Russia's resources by fighting a proxy war with them in Ukraine. That's what's happening. Now, a lot of these leftist attorney generals and district attorneys and whatnot, they're trying to drain Trump's resources so the federales have a better chance of being able to defeat him in the election. It's quite simple. If you don't have enough money or enough time to run a campaign, that weakens your chances of being able to win. That's what's going on here. It's pretty obvious to me. Now, before I go any further, let's check out a clip and also an article and also the full Kevin O'Leary clip. If you want to see any of these, I will link to them in the box. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. You see this headline here on ABC News. Trump's $370 million civil fraud trial is nearing an end. Here's what to know. Donald Trump initially planned to present part of his own closing argument. Now, one thing to talk about before we move on is that Letitia James initially wanted less money, $250 million. But state attorneys came in and said, hey, put another $130 million on top. Now, if Trump loses the case and loses appeal and he has to pay the money would go to New York State Treasury. Now, what are they going to use $370 million for? I don't know, maybe those 200,000 migrants that have come into New York City in just the past 18, 19 months. But different story, I digress. Let's take a look at what your main man, Michael Strain, has to say.
To the latest on former President Trump's civil fraud trial in a case brought by New York's Attorney General. Our senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky, is tracking the trial. Good morning, Aaron.
Michael, before court even began, police on Long Island responded to a bomb threat at the home of the presiding judge, Arthur Engoron. The threat was unfounded, but the court system says it's going to add security for the judge. He has come under threat before. Former President Trump has attacked him rhetorically, and one of the conditions placed on the former president, if he is to deliver a closing statement, is not to impugn the judge and not to make a political speech, but to stick to relevant material facts that are in evidence. The former president says he wants to deliver a closing statement himself, but he has not agreed to the conditions set by the judge. So the judge is assuming he's not going to speak.
all this rigmarole, all this back and forth in the court, that's what I'm talking about. They're just trying to keep them in court, tied up with this, and not focused on the most important thing, which is the 2024 presidential election. All this court action is completely irrelevant, and it's not really going to go anywhere.
Whether the former president is ultimately allowed to or not, we just have to wait and see. Asking to deliver a closing statement of his own is a highly unusual request for Trump, who is represented by his own attorneys, but it may represent a last-ditch effort to try to save his business. The judge has already determined Trump inflated his net worth by as much as $2 billion. And New York Attorney General Letitia James is seeking to have him fined $370 million and barred from real estate. George?
I think there's a real question about whether he really wants to testify as well. Okay, Aaron Katersky, thanks.
But my question is, okay.
Closing argument.
My question is, okay, my net worth, the value of my assets, who's to determine whether I overinflated, underinflated, got it right? Who's the arbiter of that? And by the way, Trump says he did nothing wrong. He actually underinflated the value of his assets. But why is that wrong? Look, okay, before I get to Kevin O'Leary, my man, before I get to my main man, Kevin O'Leary, I want to ask a question. Now, okay, I bought my house in 2020 for X amount. Now it's worth Y amount. Someone may think that the new value is not the new value and it's closer to what I bought it for, but I think differently. Who's right or wrong in that? Because ultimately, the value is whatever I sell it for. If I have a particular thing and I bought it for this and I sell it for that, the value is whatever I sold it for. The value is in the eye of the beholder. Who is right or wrong in that? Really, it's a matter of opinion at a certain point, within reason, of course. But I mean, come on, like, what are we talking about? We're talking about taxes, things of this nature. I can't say that a house that I bought for $500,000 and is in perfect condition with no changes to the environment is not worth $1. If I just bought it yesterday and it's still in the same condition, it's not burnt down or whatever. But at a certain point within reason, it's just a matter of opinion. It's a matter of what you're able to get for it because of what the next person agrees to spend on it. So how is that in the realm of criminality? I don't understand. But let's hear from my main man, Kevin O'Leary. You guys may know him from Shark Tank. Unfortunately, he got caught up in the whole FTX kerfuffle, but that's a different story, and I digress.
You've been doing real estate for decades. Does this case strike you as odd?
Well, let's leave out Trump for a minute, and let's leave out politics and just talk about what happens in real estate development anywhere. So if you're a developer and you've got a building on a block anywhere in America and it's worth, let's say, $500 million, and you want to build a building right beside it, you go to the bank and say, this building is worth $500 million. I'd like to borrow a construction finance loan against this asset, and I want you to tell me it's worth $500 million too. And the bank negotiates with you and says, well, no, we think it's worth $400 million. And you fight it out. You're always trying to show your assets in the brightest light with the sunshine you could possibly determine for.
I mean, this to me just makes sense. It just makes common sense. I don't see why anybody would think anything to the contrary.
For them. You want them to be worth the very most because you're only going to get a 40 or 50% loan to value, as it's called. Then you borrow that money. In the case of a $500 million asset, maybe you get $250 million, and you build a new building with a construction finance loan. And so that's what this case is all about.
This is just banking 101, finance, banking, money 101. This is how things work. This is how things go all the time, every single day. So why is it all of a sudden now a matter of a lawsuit and a potential liability of 370 M's, 370 million with an M dollars? It's crazy.
And by the way, forget about Trump. Every single real estate developer everywhere on earth does this. They always talk about their asset being worth a lot, and the bank says no. And that's just the way it is. So in this case, when I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not pro or con, or I don't care about the politics, who lost money? Nobody. The bank got paid back the construction finance loan, and a new building was built. And if you're going to sue this case and win, you got to sue every real estate developer everywhere. This is all they do. This is what they do all day long, every day. So I don't think this thing will ever survive appeal, regardless of what the fine is. This doesn't even make sense. Now, look, I know Trump's got a lot of problems in other indictments and everything else, but this, if you're a real estate developer, you're watching this, you're saying, what is this? This is ridiculous.
Exactly. You know, and that's not even politics. That's just kind of like basic common sense. It's like, man, come on, really? What are we doing? This is the way things work every single day. It shouldn't be a political thing. But again, as I close, I just want to say this. All of what's happening right now with Trump and the court cases, speaking about what's happening in New York City, the whole Alvin Bragg thing, Letitia James, Fonnie Willis down there, and Fulton County, wherever there's some legal action happening, even the impeachments, both impeachments, it's all political. It's all political, even if it is guised under criminality or civil liability. It's a way to try and get Trump wrapped up in some court action, maybe even get him in the penitentiary, drain his resources, so he's not able to run an effective campaign in 2024. It's a way to poison the minds of the people thinking, hey, Trump might get locked up. Why would I vote for him? He's a criminal, all this and that. Like I see in my comments sometimes, hey, he has 95 felonies. What felonies? Has he been convicted? Like, wake me up when I see a conviction. Wake me up when he's behind bars. It's all a way to distract and keep the proverbial eyes off the prize. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what's happening here with Trump and the court case and the 370 M's they're trying to get? Is it all just a bunch of BS? Is it bogus? Is it legitimate? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. It's all an effort to keep Trump out of the way, keep him tied up in court action, so it'll weaken his chances in 2024. That's all it's about. And the more we see from these cases, the more I know what I'm saying is 1000% correct. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.